Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. And the time is approximately 11:12 p.m. Eastern Time. And the date is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. The Sun is in Aquarius and the Moon is void of course, but it is going from being in Pisces to being in Aries, so it is a waxing moon. So this is another catch-up video, and I must acknowledge I've done, how many videos have I done so far this evening? I have done 4 videos so far this evening. This is the 5th one. And I have not worn any scarf or shawl. So to you, Susan Garrett, I apologize. Now I'm making up for it with this beautiful shawl. It's a Nordstrom shawl. It was a gift from a now former employer. And it's one of my personal favorites because it's big. And it's funny because I'm not really big on the herringbone pattern, but I love the fact that it's blue and black, it's lunar colors, and it does keep me warm. It's a synthetic. I keep forgetting some synthetics really are good at keeping one warm. And this one is acrylic, I think. But it's beautiful and it's a lovely wrap and all that other good stuff. So, Susan, I apologize that I went 5 videos without wearing any scarves or shawls. In the meantime, in my continuation of the practice of catching up, I am working with, this is the entry for, this is the November 2019 entry of Llewellyn's 2019 Tarot Calendar, and I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up, and then we will get to the meat of the matter. Okay, so we have a tip on protection, a discussion about the 9 of Wands, and what can be learned, a 5-card spread. So I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do another close-up of the page that depicts the November 2019 entry of Llewellyn's 2019 Tarot Calendar. And I'm going to go over this, I'm going to do the spread last because that'll take the most amount of time. But the 9 of Wands is from the Line Strider Tarot. This card illustrates the importance of being willing to protect what you value. You know it is important because you've had to protect it in the past. Being alert, however, does not require being paranoid. How many of us forget that? I mean, really. You know, I'm massively divinely protected, number 1. And number 2, I realize that I'm not paranoid anymore about a lot of things. And, you know, it's so ironic because, you know, all of a sudden I'm thinking about this article that appeared in a newspaper called USA Today. And the article was about different fears that people living in the United States have. And at the time the article was written, the number 1 fear was speaking in public. The number 2 fear was death. I still don't understand that. Because if I had to choose between talking to people in public or being hit by a bus, my choice is clear. Like really, speaking in public, being hit by a bus. Speaking in public, being shot to death. Speaking in public, being run over by a car. Speaking in public, being in a plane that goes down and explodes on impact. I think my choice is clear. Hi! Look who it is! It's Isis, the alpha female. You're going to be in one of my videos, isn't that right? She's over here. Look at you in the video, Isis. You look so cute. Look at you, so cute. Now face the camera. Ow! Bitch, you bitch. She didn't break the skin, but she was like, no, I'm not facing the camera. Oh, you thought it was going to wring your neck. That's what you thought. Ah, you thought it was going to wring your neck. I was going to wring your neck. I love you. Because if I'm going to wring your neck, I'm not going to wring your neck. You'll know when I'm going to wring your neck. We will all know. Isn't that right, Isis? Okay, now I'm going to do something you're not going to like, and I'm so sorry. Oh, you were okay with that, okay. You know the importance of the bit? Okay. Did you scratch yourself again? I can't tell from this angle. I could have sworn you scratched yourself, but you're okay. Yes. I love you so much. Okay, now I'm going to do the video. Okay, so, tip, protection. While there is no need to go through the world in fear, it doesn't hurt to be cautious, especially when engaging in the metaphysical arts such as a tarot reading. Make sure you protect yourself for your sake and your clients. This can be as simple as visualizing yourself surrounded by white light or carrying a crystal associated with protection, such as tiger's eye. Now, for the record, black crystals predominantly are good for psychic protection and spiritual self-defense and being protected by other things like nasty energies, disgusting energies, toxic people, etc., etc., etc. One thing that I learned in a book years ago, and I want to say that it was, well, I don't remember the current title, but the original title was The Magic Power of Witchcraft by Gavin and Yvonne Frost. And I believe it was in that book that the authors recommended visualizing a blue-white light surrounding one's body. And he used to always describe it as, see these mists of light. Some of them are blue, some of them are white, and see them like kind of like going in and out of each other, like rivers that are crisscrossing. And that's always worked very well for me. And in my mind, I visualize it as mists of light, like really brilliant, super bright, like super, super brilliant bright. And I'm telling you, that has always served me very, very well. And it's funny because I know that using violet flame decrees, it's always recommended that one say a prayer of protection. So for me personally, what I always recommend is, definitely saying a prayer of protection, or even calling upon warrior goddesses and archangels of protection, such as Archangel Michael, as well as Durga, as well as Kali Ma, as well as Isis, because the goddess Isis is a protection goddess for so many. You got some little scorch on the eye, and you're not going to let me clean it off. Okay, fine. So, yeah, okay. It's okay. You have this thing in your eye. Okay, fine. Relájate, chica. And it could be the residue of the Florida water that could be like, she's like, no, I don't want that near me. Which could be the case. Anyway, so that's one thing that I recommend. I know that when I lay out, when I give readings at a public venue, I like to have at least one piece of black onyx, one piece of black tourmaline, which I gave to a client, so I need to replace it. And I also like to have hematite, because hematite is a fantastic crystal for deflecting psychic attacks. And it's one of the reasons why I love to wear a piece of hematite on my person at all times. Because, some people, they have nothing better to do than like hex you or curse you for no good reason, other than jealousy and insecurity, which are not good reasons. Anyway, now, I want to talk a little bit about this spread. It says, what can be learned? It's a 5-card spread. So, challenging experiences, hurts, and traumas can leave us feeling vulnerable. Part of the healing process is learning from the situation without paranoia or bitterness. This spread helps you find wisdom from the ashes of, This spread helps you find wisdom from the ashes of pain that can serve you in the future. Okay. As I mentioned, it's a 5-card spread. Card number 1 is in the center. Card number 2 is in the upper left quadrant, or the upper left corner. Card number 3 is directly below that one. Card number 4 is in the upper right corner. And card number 5 is directly beneath that one. And of course, whenever I cast cards in my YouTube videos, and whenever I give a client a reading with cards, the final message card is the bottommost card. I forgot what this is called. What is she doing? If she was a baby, I'd say she's teething. Yeah, we're stumped. She's rubbing her jaw against the edges of the paper, and that's a thing with, maybe that's a thing with Isis, the alpha female. By the way, I had already decided to hold up the cards, but now that Isis is laying on the table that I normally use for layouts, it's official that I'm holding up the cards. Okay. Now, even though I do not have the Line Strider Tarot, I recently unearthed my copy of the Witch's Tarot. The Witch's Tarot, created by the late, great Ellen Cannon Reed, who was also the author of the book Circle of Isis, Ancient Egyptian Magic for Modern Witches. Oh, no, no, no. I love you, but no. No, boss. You're not playing with these socks. No, no, no. And I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person show you the box and the layout, the cloth that I wrap the cards in. Oh, I'm sorry. Ellen Cannon Reed created the tarot deck, and it was illustrated by Martin Cannon. So, on the cover of the box, you see 2 dolphins. On the cover of the box, there are 2 dolphins. But if you open up the box, there are 3. Oh, you need to tell me these things. I'm not on the other side of the camera. There are 3, by the way. But it's been so long since I've used this deck that I forgot they're on the bottom, not the top. And this is the beautiful silk cloth that wraps these cards. Anyway, and after all these years, it still feels so buttery soft. So, I do not know if this deck is out of print. I'll put in the description box if it is or if it's not. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle the deck. And as always, when I cut, and one thing about me, since I almost always use upright cards, I love a tarot deck where I can see right off the bat if the card is upright or reversed. This makes me happier than I can tell you. So I'm going to shuffle the deck, and as I'm shuffling the deck, I'm calling upon Isis Fortuna, who is the goddess of the sacred tarot, and by extension, a goddess of divination. And I ask that the casting of these cards bring us all love and light, prosperity and peace, wholeness and healing, clarity and illumination. And this is a card that's just jumped out, so I'm going to read this card first. It is the Princess of Swords, which is more commonly known as the Page of Swords. And I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the card. This is the front of the card. This is the back of all the cards. But the Princess of Swords, again, more commonly known as the Page of Swords, is very interesting because in all of my readings, when I use tarot, Page of Swords, Princess of Swords, almost always comes out when we are in a pre-Mercury retrograde storm. Pardon me as I scratch my nose. We are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde, or we are in a post-Mercury retrograde storm. And it just so happens that the first Mercury retrograde of 2020 begins on February 16th, which is not too far from now. Okay, so now I'm going to resume shuffling. And I call upon all benevolent spirits to be present for this reading. May this casting of cards bring all of us who watch this video love and light, prosperity and peace, clarity and illumination, wholeness and healing, and may it point us to our next forward move. Cutting the deck into 3 piles. And I'm going to begin the reading. I'm going to put the cards down first so I can just go to where I need to go. Okay, so card number 1, the hurtful or traumatic experience. So as always, I'm going to hold up the card first so that you can see it. I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the card. and then I'm going to read the card. So this card represents card number 1, the hurtful or traumatic experience. It's so funny this card came out. This represents 2 different things for me. Number 1, psychic trauma. You know, Swan of Dreamers has given me some amazing ideas for YouTube videos, and there was an idea that she gave me 1 to 2 years ago, and it was about psychic trauma. And when I say psychic trauma, I mean people that have been traumatized from having an intuitive card reading. Now, I've only recorded card number 1 first. Part 1. And I'm really stumped at part 2, which is why I have not recorded a part 2, and which is why I have not yet uploaded that video. However, now I'm beginning to realize that I really need to upload that video regardless. So, but I think that this card is about not only those of us that have experienced a psychic trauma or a psychic violation. And a psychic violation, a perfect example of this really is, and it happened to me once. I remember I was giving readings in a gay club called Splash, which used to be located on West 17th Street in the Chelsea district of Manhattan in New York City. And I remember there was a gentleman who was there, and he's like, I do this professionally. I said, oh, really? Good for you. And he's like, I can give you a reading if you like. And I'm like, no, that's okay. And he wound up giving me a reading, which to me is a form of psychic rape. It's like, if somebody offers to give me a reading, and it's sort of like they give me a reading even though I say no, that's a form of psychic rape. And I really feel like some of us have experienced a psychic or an energetic violation. And that card points to that. And then the other thing is, those of you who didn't even know this card was going to come out, and my psychic guides are adding those of you who knew instinctively this was going to be the first card, you already know what that hurtful or traumatic experience is. And it could be one that you've been working on healing, or that you've been in the process of healing for several years. At least 2 years is what I'm getting intuitively. So it is the thing, it is the trauma, and I'm going to use that term, it is the trauma that has defined who you are in many ways. Okay. Card number 2, what you need to understand. That already feels like the pivotal card for me. And again, I'm going to show you the card first. I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the card. And then I'm going to read the card. Three of Swords. What you need to understand is that this was probably always going to happen. This was probably always going to happen no matter what you said, no matter what you did, no matter what you didn't say, no matter what you didn't do. I think that there is a higher purpose to this trauma having taken place that feels so wrong for me, and yet there's a part of me that's like, yes. So this is the time of the reading where I would say I have no attachment to being right and I have no commitment to being right. And I must say that I'm fond of saying those things because I really don't have to be right all the time. I actually don't want to be right all the time. It actually irritates me when I'm right most of the time. But getting back to all of you watching this video, I think one of the things that you need to understand is that this trauma was probably always going to take place. And intuitively, I feel as though there is a higher purpose to this trauma's occurrence. Card number 3, what you don't need to understand and would be better off surrendering and releasing. It reads on the calendar page, what you don't need to understand and should release. But I felt that I needed to reword that. In writing, what you do not need to understand and what you are much better off surrendering and releasing. And again, I'm going to hold the card up first to all of you. I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of said card, and then I'm going to interpret said card. The Hanged Man. And I love that this card depicts Odin. And it's so funny because I actually, I found something that one of the cats found the other day. There's a pagan festival for men who love men called Between the Worlds. And it takes place at a reclaimed strip mine near Athens, Ohio. And every year they have a god that is the patron god of that year's festival. Although of that land, of that physical location where Between the Worlds takes place. And keep in mind, there are two pagan festivals called Between the Worlds. There is the one that's exclusively for men who love men, and there's the one which was co-created by Ivo Dominguez Jr. The one that I'm referring to is not the one co-created by Ivo Dominguez Jr. The one that I'm referring to is affiliated with the Green Fairy Grove. Fairy spelled capital F as in Frank, A-E-R-I-E. That fairy. So with this card, so one of the cats found the, I forgot what that material is, but I want to say it's neoprene. That kind of stretchy material wristband that had BTW for Between the Worlds, 2007 Odin. And I actually found it last night or this morning. I think it was last night actually, because I actually woke up a little bit after, woke up for the day. It was a little after noon today, which was really necessary for me, big time. So what I feel with the presence of this card, as the spirit comes upon me, pardon me. Oh, that's so good. Lemonade with light brown sugar. Do it. What I'm getting from this card is, number one, this is a great time to surrender and release attachments. This is a really good time to surrender and release any lingering attachments from 2019. Remember, the sun is still in Aquarius. The sun is yet to enter Pisces, which means that we're not yet at the time when the sun enters Aries, the sign of new beginnings, and the first day of the new astrological year. It's already past January 1st, so it's already past the first day of the calendar year 2020. We are already past the date of the new moon in Aquarius, and every year the date of the new moon in Aquarius, or the day after, is the first day of the Chinese New Year. In this case, it was the day after the new moon in Aquarius, which was Saturday, January 25th, 2020. That was the first day of the Chinese New Year of the metal rat, which I find interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because in Chinese astrology, the rat is the first sign of that zodiac. And as the first sign of that zodiac, it represents new beginnings. Not unlike Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, of the Western astrological system, and also the sign of new beginnings. And again, the first day of the new astrological year is the date of the vernal equinox, which in Western astrology is the first day of the sun's transit in Aries, the sign of new beginnings. So I'm saying all this as a way of saying that we're not yet at the point when the sun is in Aries, or when the sun is about to enter Aries. So this is a great time to continually surrender and release any lingering attachments to anything or anyone from 2019. Let's say, for the sake of argument, there are people that you first met in 2019. Are they still serving your needs in 2020? If they are, great. If they're not, you know what to do. Isn't that right, Isis? Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Yes. Okay. Now, and my computer just turned on. Odd, but okay. Card number 4. How to see from a different angle. Or rather, how to see from a different perspective. So again, I'm going to hold up the card to all of you first. I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up. And then I'm going to read the card. And the card is Judgment. So, how to see from a different perspective, or how to see from a different angle. So this different perspective, this different angle, and it's so funny because this is the card that traditionally depicts Archangel, as opposed to Archangel, Gabriel. So I'm going to say call upon Archangel Gabriel to help you see this trauma from a different perspective. And I find Archangel Gabriel is appropriate for this because Archangel Gabriel is the divine messenger of the archangels. So maybe there is a message that you need to receive from the divine, but you have yet to receive it. So maybe Archangel Gabriel can help you see this trauma from a different perspective, from a different angle. Card number 5, the wisdom to bring with you. So going forward, this is the wisdom to bring with you. So again, I'm going to hold the card up first. I'm going to have my awesome audio-visual person do a close-up of the card, and then I'm going to interpret the card for you. Two of Pentacles. No, I stand corrected. Two of Cups. They're wearing blue. Two of Cups. That's right. In this tarot deck, the swords correspond to the element of fire, and the wands correspond to the element of air. But Cups, blue. Two of Cups, blue. Two of Cups. That's interesting, because the focus of the October 2019 entry of Llewellyn's 2019 tarot calendar was the Two of Cups. So what choice are you going to make about this trauma? Are you going to choose to let it dominate the rest of your life? Or are you going to choose to heal from it and transcend it? For me, the choice is clear. And I must admit, the trauma that I have, I'm not sure what the trauma is for me, because there are certain things that have happened in my life that are traumatic. And it could be right in front of my eyes, and maybe it is, and I'm not seeing it all that clearly yet. But what I am crystal clear about is that I already know what it is. And as I just happen to be looking at another timepiece that lists the time as 11:38 p.m., which again numerologically reduces to 13, as in the number 13, blessed be the power of the witch. And the final message card is, and again, I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the card, and then I'm going to interpret what the card is. Okay. Four of Wands. So, with this card, I feel as though the healing of this trauma, the wisdom to be gained from this trauma, is going to help us move forward into our new home, into our new world. And, you know, I think that some of us are ready in a lot of ways to have a new home, meaning a new literal home address. I know that sometimes this card could be an indication of a new professional address, like let's say we start working for a new company, or our current employer relocates and we decide to relocate with them. But I feel for now, what this... Bast, what are you trying to do? My nickname for her these days is Miss Squeak Toy. Miss Squeak Toy, what are you trying to do? I don't think she knows yet. Okay, now you're done. Now you're done, now you're done, now you're done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to finish up this video now, before anything else falls apart. Okay, YouTube, as always, thank you for honoring who I am and what I do. Thank you for the comments, thank you for the likes, thank you for the shares. Thank you to those of you who are availing yourselves of my psychic services for the first time. And thank you to those of you who are going to avail yourselves of my psychic services for the first time in 2020, the year of a solid, balanced foundation. Let me know in the comments how much this reading and this casting of cards resonated with you, for you. And now I wish you a beautiful and blessed good night.